straight from the chest, Wednesday Wrath. Thank you for tuning in, guys. I am your host, Justin Groth. I thank you for tuning in again. It's an honor for me to have you view in and listen in and all of that. I love it. And I was having this thought the other day, and it made me laugh, and I have to share it with you. It's a story, and it was back when I was in high school. Man, I did a lot of stupid things in high school, but one of the things that I did, and I think that most of you can probably attest to this as well, or empathize with this. You keep a lot of things from your parents when you're in. I mean, I think in those early days in middle school and high school, when you're trying to find yourself and things are kind of getting awkward too, you're going through puberty, all that junk, right? One of the things that I kept, among many things, from my mother and dad, because if I told them, I'd probably get in trouble for it. And I know that I'm going to hear about this later once they listen to this podcast, but whatever. I remember keeping baggy clothes from my mom and dad. Well, my dad didn't really care, but my mom, she didn't like me wearing baggy jeans. And this is back in the 99, 2000, like a sophomore, junior, freshman, sophomore in high school. So 98, 99, 99, 2000. And I remember I would pack these baggy pants, and these are ridiculously baggy. I don't know, for those of you who remember Miller's Outpost, way back in the day, they had this beyond baggy jean. And this thing is, humongous legs, like even a size, 36, she was huge, looked like clown pants. But that was style, right? And I was like a little skater kid. And I remember these baggy pants. I loved them, right? All my friends wore them. It just, it was a thing, right? And I remember I couldn't wear these pants to school because my mom thought they were gang affiliated because they were baggy. She thought that I would be, and going to Royal Granny High School, which is high school I went to, she thought I'd probably get mixed up with people thinking the wrong thing about me because of the clothes I wore, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. So she didn't want me wearing those clothes, so I had to sneak them, right? You have to do that when you're young. You can't just wear what your parents want you to wear, right? That's boring. So I snuck these clothes, these pants in the back of my backpack. Went to school. I'd go to school. I would change in the bathroom, and that way I had them for the rest of the day. I'd go in the bathroom, rechange before I went home, or before my mom picked me up, because it was back in the days before I used to drive. And I wore those because I wanted to fit in, right? I wanted to fit in. I didn't want to be the odd man out, and really, I just liked the style better, but my mom didn't like them. But it was just something that I just had to do it, right? Like, we have to do those things sometimes, and we don't want to obey. We want to go against the grain. We want to run our own life, so to speak. And it's a parent's job to watch out for you, get it, yada yada yada. But it wasn't as severe as she thought in terms of like what I was going to be viewed at, or I don't know. It wasn't like I was worrying about Oceano or Napomo gangs hitting me up because I wore baggy pants. But that was just what her thought process was, and she just wanted to save her baby boy. I get it. But anyways, I laughed about that because it's like, now, obviously I have a thing called integrity. I have a thing called respect. Back then, you didn't really have those. You had them, but you didn't. You didn't really know that we were just a kid. Your biggest hurdle was homework. That was your biggest responsibility, and your biggest depression in life was homework. But at least mine was, and I hated math. Math was my worst topic. Hated math. I still hate math. I don't know why we have math class. It doesn't apply to anything we do in life. If we need to do math, we have a calculator, and that's the extent of our mathematical equations in life. Really, who's doing long division in their head? Who needs to? Anyways, that's a whole different topic. But dang, I had to wear these pants. They were just a part of my identity, right? And I was also trying to find my identity, who I was, and the crowd that I fit in the best with. And one of my main dudes that I ran with, he was a skater. He wore baggy pants. His mom didn't care though. Like his mom was much more relaxed than my mom. And I think I was just trying to fit in, right? I was trying to fit in. And so it also reminded me of a few people that I see in the gym. Like I see these kids in the gym, and I say kids, I mean like 18, 19, 20, 21. And being a 34-year-old guy now, I mean, 34-year-old, I feel like I have a little bit more of a perspective in place. So when I see these people, I don't see just an 18-year-old, 19-year-old, 20-year-old, 23-year-old, whatever, 25-year-old. I see potential, if the potential's there. And there's a lot of these kids in the gym that I see have a lot of potential. But because they're so impressionable and they're young and they haven't gotten their feet wet yet with criticisms or with an urgency to capitalize on the things that they value the most, they just try to do what every one of us tries to do in the beginning of our life, I think, or when we're not well informed at least, and that's just to fit in and run with the crowd, because you can't really get made fun of if you run with the crowd. You can't piss anybody off when you run with the crowd. You can't really step on anybody's toes when you run with the crowd. And because of that, there's no discrepancies. Everything is comfortable. There's no confrontation. In a perfect world, right? Because that stuff still exists even when you run with the crowd. It doesn't seem counterintuitive, but it's not. Like, it really does exist. Even when you're neutral, people will step now on your toes, or make you feel like you're doing something wrong. And so, but really, you don't understand anything else, so you end up going with the flow of things. And because of that, you end up suppressing maybe your belief system, maybe compromising who you are and your character, adjusting to fit the format of somebody else because you just don't want confrontation. And I sympathize with that 100,000,000%, because that was once me. And it wasn't because I was a follower. It was because I just don't have a confrontational spirit. And then most of you probably listening to this, you're like, you're tripping, because I hear you all the time on your podcast dispelling certain things and going against certain topics, et cetera, et cetera. Even that's common. Yes, but I had to come into that. That wasn't something that I was established with. I had to discover that. And that was something that was a realization for me, because even though I felt like I had value to me and my person and what I have to deliver, I also felt like, well, nobody else is doing or thinking this way or actively speaking this way, so I don't really want to do that, because I don't want to go against the grain. I kind of just I don't want to, again, remember, my neutral state is just to not be confrontational, unless it calls the particular situation calls for it. And I just remember all throughout my life not really engaging in confrontational matter, because I just didn't want to be on the negative end of anybody. And then slowly, as I start evolving, growing up, and having certain experiences and being in certain circumstances, you begin to put things in perspective. And for me, I saw that people didn't like me regardless. And they didn't not like me per se for who I was internally, because all those people that knew me and understood me loved me, because they knew the real person inside. But to the people who just judged me on superficial measures, or a particular stance that I had on particular topic or whatever, those people decided that I wasn't for them. And there was, I feel like there was more positive than negative, but even if it was more negative than positive, I think I would have been okay with that. Even though I say that now, maybe I wouldn't have been that way if it had been that in those ratios instead. But at the end of the day, none of those people really care about who you are anyways. None of those people really care about really what you're doing. They're more concerned with if it looks different than what they're able to do. And if it looks different than what they're able to do or they are able to produce, then maybe by their own drawback, let's call it a drawback because it is, and an inability to see that this is something that you are passionate about, this is something that you are actually good at and you have potential at, instead of favoring it and calling you to a higher level with it and promoting you in the ways that they should as your friend, they just default back to, I don't agree with that because it's different and because it's unique and because I know that it's better than what I can produce, and so I have to talk against it. And you've heard me say it multiple times, I think you need to get a different crowd of friends if that is the dynamic amongst your group. But apart from that, if you realize that you have something of great magnitude to give and to be and to produce, then it's really your entire duty to capitalize on that, regardless of what anyone is going to say, do, feel, think about you. And that is easier said than done. I get it. But you know what? It's really not. It's really not that much easier said than done. Really, it depends, and it's structured and it's augmented on your active ability to not care and be unapologetic about who God has created you to be. That's it. And that doesn't come by way of watching YouTube motivational videos. That doesn't come by speaking positive, optimistic things over your life. That just comes by you doing. That just comes by you believing, no matter who else believes in you or doesn't believe in you or cares about you. That has entirely up to you. And that's why we don't have many Rockefellers or Hershey's, or we don't have many Carnegies that are in this world because, or let's take it to more present day. We don't have many Gateses or I'm drawing a blank, the guy that made Apple. We don't have many of those people because we are not secure with who we are enough to go out on a ledge and say, this is who I am, this is what I believe in, this is what I'm going to do because I can't do anything else. It's literally non-negotiable. I have no other boats, I have no plan B, and it's not because I'm not calculated, it's not because I'm stupid and I can't muster up a plan B or C or D. It's because I don't want a plan B or a plan C or a plan D. I want to make A everything. I need to make plan A everything because plan A is what God gave me. And plan A is going to be everything that I need. And I'm equipped and I have everything I need to trail this to the end of my days. And if that is not your belief structure, and if you care more about stepping on people's toes because you're afraid of what they're going to think of you, how they're going to view you, and you'll never be great. You'll never be great. You may be good, but you'll never be great. And the only thing that God made you for is greatness. That's it. He didn't make you to just be good. He really didn't. And I know that's a hard pill to swallow because maybe right now you're working a 9-to-5. And maybe right now you hate your job. And maybe right now your coworkers suck. And everything in your life you feel like you have bad test results here. You have you passed up on that promotion. You know, your next you have rank coming up that you don't know if you're gonna make. Like, I know everything doesn't seem like it's supposed to be this way, or everything seems like there's like a bunch of negatives and not really a lot of positives. The one positive that you have is the seed that God planted inside of you from conception. And that doesn't come about just because you were conceived and you were brought in this world. You have to identify it, and you also have to deliver on what it is that you're purposefully passionate about. I mean, not just passionate like, yeah, I like to give people rides here and there. I should maybe do Uber. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about what you are violently passionate about, that you would go and slay your everything to the death. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the thing that you have no other responsibility in life to take care of. You don't have to make money for anything in particular. What will you do if you had everything at your resource, all the resources at your fingertips, and you did not have to provide, you don't have to do it for money purposes? What would you do? What would you do for free? What would you do waking up, getting out of bed? What do you think about every single day? That is the thing that you capitalize on. If you are not living in those constructs, then you're wasting a day. You're wasting a week. You're wasting a month. And again, I don't mean for this to come out condemning or stalling or anything like that nature. I just want to wake you up, because there is so much potential in you. There's so much potential I see in people all around, not just in the gym, that if they just didn't care about what people said about them, or what they might say based on what kind of shoe they're wearing or what kind of exercise they're performing, if they just lived integrally, authentically in their own expression, then not only the volume of what they could produce could be so much greater, but the polarization effect that it would have on the community around them would be enormous. Because everybody might not agree with you, but everybody is going to respect you doing you. That's a fact. Because you know why they respect it? They respect it because they can't really do it. They can't do it, or they are doing it, and that's why they respect it. But either way, they're going to respect it. Think about that. It's a solid notion. If somebody that you see is hating on you, or casting out, we like to call it, what was that saying? What is that saying they say? Cast out, I can't think of it. But people are frowning upon you for what you're doing. They kind of shadow. Oh yeah, they're casting shadows. I don't know, something like that. Throwing shade. That's what it is. Throwing shade. If somebody's throwing shade at you, that's because you're relevant, and that's because they obviously can't do what you're doing. They're hating on it, throwing shade at you because they want to maybe do what you're doing, or they want to at least have the audacity that you have and the unapologetic nature that you have to do what it is that they want to do too. So when they see that, it's mirroring to them, and they can't stand it because they ultimately know they should be living out on their true desires, even though they're different, even though they're unique to you. That's the whole point. God didn't want to make you just like everybody else. He made you with unique desire. He made you with those unique components and those elements for you to stand out among the rest, for you to be a leader. That's why he made you. He didn't make you to blend in, so don't try to blend in. If you're going to step on people's toes, step on people's toes, provided that the purpose is authentic and it has people's best interests at heart. That's it. That's the name of the game. Everything else is futile. Understand that. If everything in life were so linear and so, this is what you do, plan A, plan B, I mean, we'd just be robotic. But that isn't the way that we're designed. We're designed to be different. We're designed to go through challenges. We're designed to have these orchestrated events in our life that cause us to become greater, that cause us to level up and to evolve. And I'm not saying that it doesn't suck welcoming those things, but we must welcome them. And in the process, we're going to have to welcome those people throwing shade too, because that's going to happen. But your purpose is far bigger than them. Your purpose is bigger than the people that you're stepping on to get there. Provided that your purpose is integral and authentic. Again, it deserves repeating. Provided that your purpose is authentic and integral, you must step on people's toes. Even Jesus stepped on people's toes because his purpose was to save people and to give people a life and progress them and evolve them in his constructs and his principles, because he knows that that is the way to their everlasting eternal life. But he cared about them. So again, provided that that you have people's best interest at heart, you must step on people's toes. You must. It's going to happen. It's inevitable. But it's for the right reason. If you don't step on people's toes, you're doing something wrong. You are. I know that if I'm not creating some type of wave in other people's life, I'm doing something wrong. And by wave, I mean progressive wave. I'm not saying I'm going to reach everybody. I'm not. And I'm not focused on everybody. I'm focused on the few that need me. That is a part of my purpose in life. That is a part of my lot in life. That, I believe, will be a part of my legacy when I die. That's what I'm focused on. I might step on people's toes in the process. But that's a necessity to get to the people that see the value in me. And to get to the people that I'll inevitably change the course of their life through God and the seeds that he's given me.